India is a country which which considers itself as in top five the global economic country. Means if we see the largest economies in the world, we are bringing series of largest economies in the world. And in the largest economies in the world, India boasts itself as the number fifth economy in the world, where India's GDP is around $4 trillion, and it stands as number fifth largest economy in the world. Means Indian Prime Minister go and attend kind of a G10 or G20 nation summit. But when we see the ground reality of India as a country, and when we see the ground reality of a G10 country, G10 country means the country we are in those who are in top 10 in the economy, like United States, China, Japan, Germany, United Kingdom, France, Italy. So these considered countries are number 10 economy in the country, United Kingdom. Now, in that sense, if someone comes to India, he finds big gap in the actual standard of the living of the people, the way government is showing its data. Now, in that sense, when India is the fifth largest economy in the world, and India in hunger index it is 130 out of 125, means most of the people, of the people, they do not have two times food also. Then we started thinking about what is its export and import as far as country is concerned. Then we saw that India export in 2025 years back, it was around $100 billion. And in 2014 time frame, its export was around $400 billion. And in 2024 time frame, India's export was around $700 billion. Anyway, the import in 2024 was around 780, means around $800 billion India imports, and $700 billion India export. Anyway, what is the global data? In 2004 global data around, I believe, $35 trillion to $40 trillion is the global export worldwide. In that sense, India stands 2%. It was generally considered that India's global export is 0.5% of the total. India's export is 0.5% of the total export. But as per the data 2024, India stands that 2% of the global export. That is the data. Anyway, we are now trying to do some kind of microscopic view in this data, that $700 billion is India export in 2024. What it exports actually, if this is the data that India is exporting. United States export $2 trillion per year. In that sense, India is not far behind. Only one third of United States export is India, whereas China export around $4 trillion. China export is very high, $4 trillion. In that sense, again, India is not very behind. $700 billion and $4 trillion, it is not far behind. Okay, what is the real data that we were working on it? Anyway, we will see the data. But one thing that we see, anyone go around the world, maximum what items someone finds from India. If India is exporting items around the globe, then typically people would find Indian products around the globe. Now in that, typically we find food grains from India, rice from India, spices from India, pulses from India. This is typically we find from the India. But India export other items also, but we don't see in the market. So those items are like refined crude oil. India, India export. Then India export in a kind of in the engineering goods in the sense like the automobile part that are used to make the big car or something like that. So for those parts, India export. So that's why we don't see made in India when we go to foreign country. Only made in India are its rice, pulses, spices. This is what we see. So now the discussion topic is India export is really $700 billion. That is under question mark. Okay, when we see the export of any country, then export and import of any country, there are two things. One is export and import. Export and import of any country falls in two sections. One is called services and one is called goods. Services, as per the World Trade Organization definition, if one country citizen work for companies that is located in the foreign country, then it is called services. Means any foreign country company, it it make another country's citizen to work for him, then it is called services. Like Indian software engineers, if they are working for Microsoft or Intel or some Irish company or some English company, German company, then and German company is building its product, and these software engineers they are working in those companies, then that work will not come under the export of goods item. It will come at export of services item, but it will come under export. This is called human power that country is exporting. Okay, this is very bad term, but this is how it is. Then we found that around 50% of the export from the India, means around $350 billion export from India in 2024. It happens in services sector only. Means India is growing its export, but mostly in the services sector, not in the manufacturing item. Okay, not in the merchandise. That is a big word. Big word. Okay, in goods section also, there is a tremendous in energy India puts in selling the automobile part or pharmaceutical part means medicinal part or something, that will be for the kind of it will go and items will go and it will manufacture the bigger medicine, the end product medicine. Okay, in those section also comes in goods export. If India Tata Motors is manufacturing a automobile part, that part will be used by American car company, that comes in the goods export only. So then we saw that there is a large part of the export, which I can say 50% of the export, goods export, comes from these engineering parts only. So more or less, India export around $200 billion item. That falls in 0.5% only, the global export. The net merchandise that India is exporting, finished good, and that is more or less is 0.5% of world export. Okay, you are talking this much. What about China? Out of $4 trillion or around $3.8 trillion, what China export, around 3.4 or $3.5 trillion in merchandise only. People would see made in China, especially the electronics product made in China all around the globe. Too much, too many. So China is a genuine exporter of merchandise, finished good. Services sector, China is around $400 billion. In goods export, it is around $3.4 trillion. So China is the real exporter of item. India is the real exporter of services. This is the condition of India. Now, when we see the top 10 largest economy, India also sits there, but situation is different. Anyway, I have the data that we will see. Okay, if I talk about the top 10 largest economy in the world, then it is the United States, China, Germany, Japan, India, United Kingdom, France, Italy, Canada, and Brazil. Okay, so these are developed country in the world because their prime minister, head of the state, they go and they go and attend G10 nation summit. Okay, what is the India actual export that I was talking about? Around 700 billion dollar. Here it is written as $778 billion is the was the India export in 2024 time period. and it was 62% growth that was seen from 2014 time period. We are talking about the new prime minister who go and attend G20 nation, G10 nation that India never saw in the past. That Indian prime minister will go and attend G10 nation when on the ground it is a poor country. But this is what people are seeing from the 2014 onward. All of a sudden, Indian prime minister is going and attending G10 nation somewhere in Switzerland, somewhere in the this country and that country. So anyway, 2014, the kind of Indian 62% rise India has seen. Around, I believe, around 400 to 450 billion dollar was the export in 2014, and it came to see 778 billion dollar in 2024. Out of it, 437 billion dollar is in merchandise products and 341 in the services. Indian people they work for multinational company. This is called service. Anyway, merchandise export, if we see 2014 data and 2024 data, product that India is merchandise include the product parts also and finished product also. Together, if we see in 2014, India was exporting 314 billion dollar merchandise, where in 2024 it is 437 billion dollars. There is no increase in the product sector, but if we see services in 2014, India's services were 132 billion dollars. Now in 2024, India's services is 341 billion dollars. This is drastical increase, and in 2000, more or less, there was no services at all. When $100 billion was India export into 2000, at that time China export was $240 billion. In 2000 era, China export was $240 billion. India export was $100 billion. At that time, services sector was very less because internet boom was not there. Right now, internet speed is very high. People can work for the multinational company sitting here only, or they can go whatever it is. Now, from 2014 to 2024, there is a high rise in the services from $132 billion to $341 billion. In merchandise, $314 billion to $437 billion. Okay, anyway, what is the major spot of the India export? Major spot is North America, European Union, ASEAN, and Gulf country. ASEAN means North. ASEAN is Southeast Asia. That is Burma onwards, and Gulf country means more or less Iran onwards till Egypt. So there India exports. So these area India mainly export what we can say animal meat, and I cannot go beyond that. And then India export food grade or cereal to these areas. Otherwise, North America and European Union, India export mainly the services. This is what has been seen, or the agricultural products. Anyway, if we see the merchandise export, then 17.9% of the export goes to United States, 8.23 to United Arab Emirates, 5.16 to Netherlands 5.16, 3.85 to China, 3.9 to Singapore, 3% to United Kingdom, 2.67 to Saudi Arabia, 2.55 to Bangladesh, 2.27 to Germany, and 2% to Italy. These are the top 10 countries where India export merchandise. Okay, anyway, what India export maximum? India export mobile phone. Even though India does not have any mobile manufacturing, but mobile assembly is there. Some Chinese company and even Apple nowadays it is thinking about assembling the its mobile phone in India because China and America trade war is going on. In that sense, there is no guarantee warranty that when the percentage will become very high. In that sense, Apple is also considering assembling its mobile phone in India. So India is a place for the mobile phone assembly. Around 15.6 billion dollar India that exported mobile phones, and that was $0.2 billion in 2014. 2014, $0.2 billion to $15.6 billion in 2024. India export pharmaceutical. Okay, pharmaceutical, it was $15 billion in 2024. Now it is $27 billion in 2014 to 2024. 2014 to 2024, 15 billion to 27 billion. Engineering goods, I'm talking about automobile parts and those things, $6 billion to $109 billion. This is what I'm talking. $6 billion it was in 2014, now $109 billion. This much the Indian automobile parts, they are supporting the foreign company like United Kingdom. It receives automobile parts from Tata Motors, company called Jaguar Land Rover from United Kingdom. They receive the part from India. Indians, they support major into United States car manufacturing companies also. Now it is $109 billion. Okay, that is $400 billion export, 109 comes from the auto part. Typically, no one will see Indian car in foreign anyway, but part inside this will be from India. Agricultural export 27 to $2 billion to $48 billion from 2014 to 2024. Anyway, now we were talking about world export. World export is $35 trillion to $40 trillion. In that sense, $25 trillion to $30 trillion is the net goods export, not the services. Now, in that sense, China export stands $3.5 trillion only in goods. $3.5 trillion only in goods section, $400 billion in services. Anyway, China export to India, when we see the goods section, that China export to India, $170 billion item China export to India. And India export to China, that is $15 billion. $102 billion is trade deficit of India. This is 2024 data. China export $117 billion to India. India export $15 billion to China. These are the real aspect of a largest economy, that is India right now. Till 2024, it was nowhere. Okay, that's what we are talking. In 2024, engineering goods export was 6 billion. Now it is 109 billion. Mobile phone, it was $0.2 billion, nothing. Now it is $15 billion. All are fake. Means those are not real. Companies are foreigner, they are assembling here. And when they are exporting, it comes in Indian bucket only. This is India nowadays. Okay, now we are talking about now what India export, that is under what China export to the India. China majorly export integrated circuit to the India. China export telephone to the India. I believe it will come mobile also. China export computers to the India. What India export to the China? Why we are repeatedly saying China, China, China? Because in 2000, China net export was $240 billion and India net export was $100 billion. Both were similar at that time in 2000. Now, right now, see the difference. China export to India $117 billion. India export to China, that is $15 billion as of 2024. China export integrated circuit telephone and computer to the India, whereas India export China iron ore. This is also one of the major goods India is exporting, iron ore, then refined petroleum, and then crustacean. Crustacean means the crab and those kind of small animal. India export to the China, they eat. So those also India export. So these are the things that India export to China. Crude oil, refined petroleum, iron ore, and they get it and they manufacturing good out of it and they sell to the world. They sell to the India also. India is exporting iron ore and they are exporting pen, scissor, and many things. Think one scissor cost, if it cost even 50 rupees, that is from China, what is cost of that iron ore? More or less 1 rupee, 50 paise or something like that. Then India gets back in 50 rupees. Anyway, still it is better if I buy Indian scissor, then it will be 100 rupees. Whereas Chinese scissor will come same with better quality in 50 rupees. Anyway, now this is the scenario. Okay, if I talk about United States, then India and United States relationship more or less it is in favorable to India only. Anyway, India export items goods to United States that is $87 billion and States export goods to India $48 billion. Anyway, these are the scenario. India export item to the United States in pharmaceutical, gem and jewelry, engineering goods, electronic goods, textile and apparel, rice, spices, organic chemical, medical supplies, and refined petroleum. Okay, now India and China, more or less same in 2000, India was exporting to the world $100 billion and China was exporting to the world $240 billion. More or less, it was in goods section only. There were no services at that time. Now, India is exporting in goods section in written fashion. It is around $4 billion, $400 billion in goods section. China is exporting $3.5 trillion. This is the gap that came India to China. Now think that if these two countries go and attend G5 nation or G10 nation summit, where one is master and one is slave, then how it looks when both prime minister or president come in front. I'm not talking about hunger index. Hunger index, China export rice and wheat also. In India, people they do not have rice and wheat to eat. But India is great and its economy is great and it is growing at this level and that level and this level and that level. Daily basis we hear that this level of that level, and that is the reality that India is growing in the export, not in the finished merchandise, in the services sector, and China is growing in the merchandise sector, and that all the crude product, iron ore or whatever it gets from India. Okay, that the situation we pray to the God, okay, that this will be reversed. This is what we believe so.